All right, we are awaiting the results of a pH test we're doing on the Orgonite sample, and we're revisiting our Orgonite plant test. And as you can see, we get indirect sunlight here, so this is a good spot for this silver lady fern over here. And so what we did was we dug down using that shovel about 3-4 inches. We got a soil sample. We didn't touch it with our hands. We want to make sure it's not compromised. And then you get this tester, which is like $6, and you put some of the sample down there, and then you take this little capsule and you dump out the powder, this little white powder in there, okay? And then you put the pH neutral water in there and you fill it to the top there where that little line is. And then you shake it up and let it sit. And now the reason why we're doing this pH test, it was recommended to me by a friend, is just to see if the Orgonite affects the pH of the soil. And also just to get a gauge on, before and after. So we're about 2 weeks into this test, and we have not tested the soil yet, but obviously we'll know today what the difference is, if any, between the soil in the control sample and this Orgonite sample. They're the same organic soil, but ultimately this will allow us to gauge if the Orgonite, the Orgone Energy device, the life force that it's creating, affects the soil. We know from previous tests that it will make the plants grow fuller, thicker, faster, stronger. And we anticipate getting those same results, but we want to see if it affects the soil as well. So we're just waiting on this one. We should have the results here pretty soon, and it looks like, the color's kind of forming. So we're going to put it up to the sun in a second here and see what kind of results we get. And then we're going to compare that to the control sample and go from there. All right, it's been about 10 minutes, and so we now have the results of the Orgonite sample, and it looks to me to be, let's look at it at different angles in the sun here. It looks to me to be about neutral. That looks about a little light green. I don't really see any brown or yellow or red in there. I don't see a dark green either. I see a light green. So I'm going to say this is neutral. I'm going to say our soil is pretty good, pretty healthy, the Orgonite sample. So again, we will do more tests. I would say every couple weeks we'll probably do a test just to see if it's changing. And we're not adding any fertilizer or anything to it, but we are going to see if the Orgonite, if the energy, if the life force energy that's around it 24/7 is having an effect on it. If it doesn't have an effect, no big deal. We're just going to, the main point of the test is to see how the plant grows. This is just kind of supporting the test. Okay, and now to do a measurement. So when we started this test back on the 7th, a couple of weeks ago, it was 7 inches. So it has done some nice growth here. As you can see, now at its highest point, and we have not touched the soil or anything, as God is my witness. So we have not affected the height of this in any way, as God is my witness. And we see it around a little more than 9 inches. Okay, so let's compare that. I would say 9 and a quarter inches right now, a couple weeks into the test, Orgonite sample. Let's see what the backyard pH looks like, as well as the height. All right, now we are at the control sample. As you can see, we are in the backyard, and we get the indirect sunlight, the shade right here from this plant. So we're not in direct sunlight right now. It's a good even mixture, just like the plant in front. So what we did was we dug up about 4 inches. We did not touch the soil. We put it in here. Then we put sample in here and our little powder caplets or capsules, and shook it up, and now we're waiting for it to develop. Okay, and again we used pH neutral water on top of it. And while we're waiting, let's do a measurement. So they were both 7 inches when we started. I have not touched the soil on this one in the back, as God is my witness. And we're still at 7 inches. That's crazy. Let's go over here. Maybe I'll put it down. Yeah, I mean, this had to have grown a little bit. It's been exactly 2 weeks. There's been some growth out here to the side, and in our previous test, the control sample, my witness at Enchanted Crystal, he noticed that the control sample was just growing out to the side, not really up, and the Orgonite sample was growing more up and was much more full. So, as you can see, the soil is, comparing what we just dug down right here compared to the soil, we have not touched the soil at all. You can see the water marks. All we've done is just water it here and there to make sure it does not get too dry. You can see we have not touched the soil at all. And I have nothing to hide. I am not manipulating any results, as God is my witness. And so we're right about at 7. And let's go just a different angle here. So yeah, we're still pretty close to 7. Not growing up. And so we're at 9 with the Orgonite sample. In 2 weeks, we have a difference of growth of 2 inches. And that's just amazing to me, because I know in my heart I have not done anything to manipulate this test. I have not planted this deeper or anything like that. I got nothing to hide, guys. And I'm just going to keep providing the evidence, and we're going to keep monitoring this every 2 weeks until October 7th, when our test will be done. And so I think we'll look at this sample next to see what the pH looks like, and then we'll bury this soil back, and then we'll check back in 2 weeks on if how much it's grown. It will grow. It's getting sun and it's got good soil. It just doesn't have any Orgonite around it, so a little higher than 7. We use the same exact soil, and these have the same amount of sunlight, just the only difference being obviously that one has Orgonite and one doesn't. So 2 weeks into the test, we can observe that the control sample is slight acid and the Orgonite one is neutral. And the Orgonite one has 2 inches more of growth. So same soil, same planter box, same amount of indirect sunlight, and I water them at the same time, and I have not touched them. They were both 7 inches when we put them in. So we'll check back. I guess maybe we'll do these tests every so often until we get to our 2-month mark, October 7th. And thank you for watching me and geeking out with me on these test results. And again, I have no reason to manipulate any results. These are all repeatable, and you could do these yourself.